Welcome back. This is the second lesson recording for IM1, October 20th, 2020. Okay, now this time we're given a table of data and you have to pick which graph, which of the four graphs best represents this graph, this table. Okay, so to do that, let's analyze what we are given. That's the table. So how is the x value changing? It's changing just by adding 1. Okay, that means whatever the change in the y is, we do not have to divide anything by it because it's always going to be the unit rate. Okay, and it so happens it's just increasing by 1. So that means the growth is 1 or the slope is 1. So growth is same as slope is going to be 1, and it's positive because it's increasing. Okay, then let's talk about what about the y-intercept. What about the y-intercept? Well, y-intercept is when x is 0, right? That's the starting value, or when x is 0, what is the y value? Well, how would we do that? Well, we added 1 when we're going down this direction, so we need to subtract 1. So if I subtract 1 from 3, it becomes 2. So I know that the y-intercept is going to have the coordinate of 0, 2. Okay, so let's look for a graph that has the positive slope. Remember, positive means it's increasing from left to right. So it's either going to be possibly C or D. Which is correct? Well, we also need to match up the y-intercept. We want 0, 2. Okay, 0, 2 will be this point. Okay, and this will be 0, 0. So this is not the right one, but this is the one. Okay, so this is the right graph. Okay, let's continue. Now this time let's review domain and range from the previous unit. What is domain of the graph? What is the range of the graph? Well, first of all, domain, if you remember our docs, it tells us the domain is all possible x values of the graph or the function. While as ray, remember our friend Ray, range is all possible y value. Okay, so to do this, what you can do is you can draw a rectangle that encloses the whole graph. It covers up all of the graph. It has to be a rectangular shape. Okay, so and then we know what are all the x values. X values are down here. Okay, x values are the horizontal values, so it extends from -2 to +2. Just like you see on the number line, the negative number, the smaller number goes on the left, the larger number goes on the right. So that means domain is going to be in between -2 and +2, so it's going to have the format I'll show you in a minute. What about range? Range is going to be starting from +3 to +11. So range it will be +3 to 11. This again, the smaller number goes on the left. And so domain we said was between -2 and it's going to be x because we're talking about domain. So it's going to, the x value is going to be between -2 to 2. Y values are going to be between 3 to 11. So domain is all real numbers between -2 and 2, and this is how you would represent it. And range is all real numbers between 3 and 11. Okay, so what about this? I want you to draw the rectangle and tell me what is the domain of this graph and what is the range of this graph. Okay, please pause the video and do that now. So I've drawn my rectangle, and so the extent of how far it goes on the x-axis is -1 to +6. While on the y-axis, the range is going to go from 0 to +8. So domain is going to be all real numbers between -1 and 6, -1 and 6, and you'll represent it as an inequality like this, and range is all real numbers between 0 and 8. 0 is less than or equal to y is less than or equal to 8. Again, make sure the smaller number is on the left hand side of the variable, followed by the larger number, okay? And the domain is always going to have the x in there, because remember our friend dogs, and the range is going to have the y variable in there because of our friend Ray. Alright, so then let's quickly review the function notation. If you have h of x is equal to 3x plus 9, and you're trying to find what h of -2 means, 2 is, this is exactly same as if I asked you evaluate y if the equation is y is equal to 3x plus 9 for x is -2. So if you are this, they are both the same thing. Okay, they're asking you to do the same thing. It's just a different way of writing it. Okay, so if I was quickly to solve this, okay, so then I know that that means that the input is -2. So I put -2 next to h. H is the name of the function, and where x was, I'm going to replace -2 right there. And wherever I saw an x before, I am going to put a parenthesis and put that value that we have, and -2 here, plus 9. And so then from here, 3 times -2 is -6, plus 9 is going to be 3. What about this? Well, we do the same thing, okay, except we're dealing with y instead of f of -2. So 3 is the output of f of -2, or when for the function named h when input is -2. So that's what's going on here. Okay, so function notation, what is it used for? It is used to represent relations that are functions. The old way was to write y is equal to 3x plus 5, but the new way is to write it as f of x is 3x plus 5. And 3x plus 5, that's the rule for the function. Okay, so it tells you what you do to the input. Input is first multiplied by 3 and then added to 5. And the output is represented by what comes out, or f of x. So f of x is the output of the function, and you read it as f of x. And then finally, f is the name of the function, and the x is the variable representing the input. And these are notes that you had seen before. Okay, you had seen before and you had taken before. All right, so at this point, students were allowed to continue working on the Unit 2 review packet. If you are unsure about any of the problems, please ask in the chat. Okay, and that's it for today.